So hello, good morning and welcome wherever you are. I've managed to make it back to our beautiful home here, Samahita, in Thailand. And hopefully that's something you'll be able to do soon. We watch, we wait. So in the meantime, practice goes on. And something to consider, especially if you're just here for a minute, right? What will it take to keep you here for the full 20, 30 minutes? That yoga is really about practice, okay? Curiosity, facts, information, etc. At best is maybe gravy. It might help the understanding to help and improve practice. So if you're used to, let's have a quick look here, and you look for a minute and then move on. Where is practice? When is it coming in? So, one of the almost first teachings explaining yoga, like right at the beginning of the commentary part of the Yoga Sutra, it talks about the states of mind, chitta bhumi. And you could say the average person, so that's the average practitioner, the average person that's in any kind of practice, meditation approach, yoga, etc., really is in the vikshipta, which is generally a distracted, agitated state. And not that any of us want to label ourselves as that, but to get to the honed in, channeled, one-pointed focus state actually requires quite an effort, quite a commitment, long-term, over time, of practice, because the mind is so ephemeral, it can go all over the place. And we have moments where we're like, yes, I feel good, or that was nice, etc. And then we have moments where, things are bothering me, I get agitated. And so this is that state. There are, of course, more disturbed states where you might even get obsessed about yoga practice, which is not necessarily of benefit or good, but you can get obsessed about any action, positive or negative. And you might also just be, you wouldn't be watching this because you'd totally have no interest. Instead, the pull of the world, worldliness, senses, etc., are really what matter, and you'll chase it hard and strong. So there's this sort of a restlessness in there. So that's chitta and muda, those two states. But for most of us that tune in and hope to even practice some form of yoga, some meditative approach, some inner understanding, actually, we've spread out that category. We're all in this vikshipta. Some translate it as distracted, others as agitated, but basically the state of mind is not there. And many of us can have moments there, but that is not what we're talking about. And that's not what practice is for or about. Rather, it's an observing, seeing, getting to know intimately, internally, inside, and basically shifting, changing, where the flow of mental to, you could say, bodily, physiological activity goes. And after a while, and it only comes from practice, after a while of practice, that flow becomes more channeled, see? More ekagrata, more one focused, if you like. And it actually, contrary to what you might think, it doesn't make you more boring or robotic, but even more interesting and more connected, more able to see the pull of the senses, the distraction of thought or mind, and what goes on in life, etc. So my whole point is that a normal vikshipta would watch this video for a minute, maybe even have tuned off already, come and go, without engaging in practice. And the point of us doing this Monday after Monday now for over a year at our own volunteering time, our own offering to you, is to help you practice, keep you in it, keep you going. So if you have a tendency to, I won't bother, resist that tendency now, because all it is a wave of the mind which rules, and it shows up in many other instances, and be like, okay, have my seat, have my space, have my place, and what's 20 minutes? If I've sacrificed over half an hour out of my heavy empirical academic work at the moment, then I know you have the time, and it's good for you. So, going from vikshipta to ekagra, right? Going from states of up and down, in and out, mild distraction, slight agitation, more agitation, sometimes peaceful, sometimes not, to really channeled, really on top of it. And that's what these yoga practices are for. Okay? So just be sitting comfortably. You can let the eyes cast down or close them. In your mouth, relax the mouth, lips, tongue. Check in on your shoulders, are they relaxed? Know that the other practices you've learned, be they a general breath to very specific breath practices in the realm of pranayama, are part of this yogic, meditative, on the way to ekagra approach. And given our time and the limits on camera, video here, and the mixture of people, we kind of get the general approach. And what really matters is that you are with it, in it, and do it, and repeat it. And then, person by person, we talk about the specifics. What is relevant to you and where you're at. So if your mouth is relaxed, your throat is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed, your heart, though, is lifted and open. And your heart is able to be lifted and open, not because you're arching your lower back, but because you have a little lift from in behind the pubic bone. There's like a little lift in the front of that lumbar up to your navel. So that lift from there makes my heart float, supports my back without going into a lumbar overarch, slight collapse. And if I can keep my attention there, so it's down in a zone, as opposed to a particular point, in a zone, I'm kind of behind the pubic bone up to the navel. Some of these texts will describe it as the inner linga. Can you focus on the linga within? So it's kind of like a feeling of a firm, upright support, roughly from pubic region. You could say its roots spread into the pelvic floor, pubic region up into the navel. Can you find that mentally? Might even help to be sitting slightly elevated, up a few centimeters, inches, on a supportive cushion extension. That helps you get in there. Now this inner linga zone of focus that you're connecting with, as I've described, a inner extending upright support. Be almost like there was a balloon, a sort of sausage-shaped balloon that was put in at the pubic area, and then it expands, boom, goes in the sort of spine to elevate, expands up to the navel. So that's why you feel this kind of firm rod, which is more or less what the linga is. Your own inner electromagnetic prosthetic support. As you tune into that, all of your asana, all of your pranayama, all the mudra, all these techniques hone in on this zone. So many of these bodily oriented practices, techniques, require your attention into this zone, this support towards the navel, into the navel. And what it might do is it might kind of pull a little bit, not tighten, not grip, but pull a little bit the lower abdomen up to the navel, and then hopefully for you it frees a bit above the navel, see? Now to add to it, we'll do a little bit of pump in, a little bit of hold the breath out, right? Now keep your attention, your inner focus here in this zone below the navel. Because I'm going into this pumping routine, I would totally relax that belly part below the navel. And then we're going to do 10 pumps, okay? Last pump a little bit longer, where you connect with that inner linga between pubic bone to navel, okay? Because the exhale will draw longer, your focus is there, and it'll impact that force like you would push on a inflated balloon, and it would kind of expand upright, see? So relaxed, little sip of air in the nose, and then 10 together. See now, lower abdomen, going back, exhale longer. Feel the kind of force on that linga. Now, pause, no breath, keep the breath out. You can hold your nose, tilt your chin. And you lift your head, keep your focus below the navel on that inner linga, and just take an inhale. So that's a expanding, active inhale, and because it's active, it actually needs support, and that support came from your connection with inner linga below your navel, okay, lower abdomen, below your navel. When we let the breathing drop to passive breath, then it gets quieter and lighter, and you don't need, obviously, the same matching counter force. So instead, like right now, breath is mild to minimal. Tension is there below the navel. Keeping it upright. We're going to do another, this time 20 pumps, and hold out for up to 20 seconds. Following the same format, okay? Your attention stays here below the navel, lower abdomen, on that, as I've been terming it the last few minutes, inner linga, okay? Inner force, if you like. So, because it's pumping, relax your lower abdomen, a little sip of breath in your nose, little though, and begin. So you get into longer exhale. Lower abdomen to navel goes back, causes your spine to be more elevated. Empty, pause, no breath, hold the nose, tilt the chin. Keep your focus on the inner linga below the navel. Keep that firm, but try to be relaxed. The upper abdomen, the heart to chest. Then you take your head up slowly, then you release your nose. Keep hold on the pelvic floor, inner linga below the navel, then inhale. And it's a big active inhale, so it needs the support to keep its integrity, keep its efficacy, its value for you. In my experience doing these practices daily, day after day, year after year, is it totally changes the quality of breathing throughout the day for the better. Or eventually, throughout the day, your breathing is very smooth, regular, but light, calm, aiding the state of mind, being tuned in to whatever it is you are working on, have to take care of, who you communicate with. What you're doing now is not just a yogic meditative practice, you're fine-tuning the entire electromagnetic force that supports this body and mind. And that is the nature of tantric to hatha yogic practices, to fine-tune that, channel that. And the foundational key, the focus within the techniques, is what I've been describing. Down here, below the navel, on the inner linga, the inner support. And of course we can bring it in if we're going to do other breathing techniques, alternating nostrils, active breathing. We're going to do one more of this pumping, and then we're going to settle into this inner focus, okay? So one more time, you relax. This time we're going to go 30 pumps up to, you don't have to keep it that long, up to a count of 30 out. So I've relaxed below my navel, because that's the area that's going to pump. A little sip of breath in the nose, and off I go. Draw it out to a longer exhale. Keep your mental focus, inner focus there, below the navel. You get empty, then pause. Keep your focus there below the navel. Hold the nose, up with your heart, tilt your chin. As before,
like you've got a hold pressure on that inner linga, that balloon there, below the navel, but you can be free above. So your heart is unimpinged. Ah, still in your mouth, calm and clear in the head brain. Keep your focus below the navel. Now you keep held below the navel, you lift your head, you remove your hand, held below the navel. Now comes an active inhale. Slowly it expands and builds. Then you softly release. Sometimes I'm asked, why don't we inhale and imagine it filling up from chest, ribs, down to belly? One can, of course. All you're doing is playing with where your focus goes. It's not as effective, that's all. And actually, if you understand the process of which muscles, what moves and where, then really you feel the effort at the lower ribs, diaphragm, and you feel that expand, and that is pulling the breath in, because of that expansion, the vacuum, pulling the breath in deep into the base of the lungs, and you expand and fill from there. And you do something similar when you exhale, you kind of let it go from there, it's a release. But you can do all that with your focus directed, staying below the navel, inner linga. And three vital aspects come together here, below the navel. Support of the body, support of the breath through direction of the exhale, and a inner focus, mental attention if you like, inner focus placed here. So now we let the breath drop to whatever is minimal for you based on state of your own physiology at the moment. And we're going to go from being on the linga, a kind of zone from pubic bone to navel, to go into more of a point, deep, not at the navel, but deep to it. So it's more like within the spinal region. Can you just be there now, barely breathing? Tune in. If you're not used to tuning into these areas, it's at first it's not clear. I don't feel anything. Doesn't make sense. That's why the Vikshipta mind says it's easy to give up, change, try something else, because I'm looking for sensation. So go one above that, override that. As one of the oldest definitions, or more like explanations to help define, explain, give a meaning to yoga, and it says being able to get on top of, be above all the activity of the senses. That's exactly what's happening here. You'll hear things, you'll feel things, the mind will, in its own sense way, is going to play with thoughts, throw them around. But your consciousness is directed via your intelligent principle. It's directed to the point deep to your navel. All you have to do is stay there. Of course thoughts come and go, because that's what the mind does, but you don't pay them attention. Just like if there's people making noise outside, you're not paying that attention, you're tuning in. Tune in. Though those thoughts are in your head, they're technically external. You're looking internal. Tune in. And when you look at the history of these yogic meditative teachings, three main zones of inner connection and focus come up. Navel, heart, and the center of the head. So we'll spend the next few minutes of our practice together going up to the heart, and then after that the head. So just feel like you're rising up the center, and then you come into your heart center. And it's like going to a different floor in a building. It feels different. So if you get into more the opening up to ask for help, feel others' pain, be empathic, be compassionate, but then be tuned in at the heart center. Right now, we're tuned in just to be, to see without the eyes, see with the inner mind, the inner consciousness, like it's looking at itself. When the inner linga support becomes natural, your heart will be more light and free. If your inner linga down below the navel is not supportive, it's collapsed, then your heart is going to be heavier due to pressure of collapse, the density, constructive in a way. One might end up naturally in the heart, and if it is light and floating, if you paid attention to below the navel, that linga would be there. What we have done is we have paid attention to below navel, now to heart, just so you can tune in, connect with it, develop it, build it day by day. But any moment where you're just naturally light and free in the heart, there's a corresponding lift from below. And that corresponding lift from below through the heart, now we rise it up into, so you go, kind of hit your uvula, right, the dangly thing, by the soft palate, and you go just above that, and you're in a space in the center of the head, and just be here now. Roughly between the ears, between the eyes, in a 3D space, above the soft palate, between the ears, between the eyes. Here is that Agnya, genuine 3D Bhrumadhya, third eye zone. So just be here.
sound in that space. Ah. If you stayed and practiced, well done. That is what yoga is, practice. It's not talk, it's not thinking, it's not all these other things that are extra to it, that might help, be supportive, but nothing beats sitting down and being in this. I wish you continue this, even if it's shorter than the time we spent every day. Continue on now in your own practice and have a wonderful day. Nice to spend this time with you.